Welcome to a review of this, the Yildiz 410 side by side, non-ejector. First impressions are that it is absolutely tiny. Absolutely tiny. You know, everything about it is very well scaled down actually, you know, by comparison to stuff like the Bicycle 410 that is essentially just the same size as a 12 ball with tiny tubes. This little bad boy is it's wonderful. It's not very good for me, but if the stock was shorter, I couldn't imagine a more perfect gun for a small person, woman or child. First impressions over. Have a look. So, she's a good looking little gun as well, isn't she? From the back we have the Yildiz factory hard plastic heel plate. Quite unexciting really. Walnut, Turkish walnut stock on a Turkish gun. Nothing new there certainly. Hand checkered, I think. Release if it was done by a machine, the machine slipped a few times. Single trigger with selector, which is quite a nice little selector actually. Works well enough I suppose. Silver alloy action, and the alloy action isn't that bad, I suppose, apart from the fact that the steel bolt can thread into it. It isn't that particularly strong, so after a good session of shooting these 3-inch Magnum monsters, you will find that it will start to get a touch on the loose side. You have around here, it's done on monoblock barrels, and you can see the join, and actually there's some silver coming out of the join, which is never a great sign. Built as a standard box lock, 3-pin box lock, Hanson and Dealey style, one for your sear, one for your hammer, and one for your cocking dog, and actually it works quite well. There are some flaws to the action, which I suppose we can take you through. First off, like I say, it's made of alloy, so the steel components inside it don't do too well with it. Secondly, the metal they do use is not that hard, it's not great steel. So, you know, in terms of longevity, it's not that great. But again, these guns aren't really designed for the hammering that you're going to get. It's a 410. It's really a junior gun as such at this sort of level, and someone who's going to use it for a few years, trade it on, or put it in the cabinet for the rest of its life. You have underlever style 4 safety and a scalloped rib on the barrels there. I say underlever 4 safety. I don't know what that is. An underlever 4-end release. I'll just pop that there. And it does go together all rather well. This particular model is a non-ejector, and as such is fairly flawless in its ejection, or lack thereof. There's nothing to complain about there. So, it's quite plain, there's not a lot of engraving, it's got a single brass bead sight, it's fixed choke, I think they come at half and full, and it does take up to 3-inch magnums all the way down to the 2-inch cartridges. It is very light, it's also very front heavy, but then 410 barrels are, because they have to be so thick for the size of the actual size of them to take the pressures that they give off. I like it, I must admit I like it. I think it could do with being shorter from the factory, although obviously you can cut it down. I think they even did a junior stock model on some of their guns. Internal flaws. The springs that hold the actual trigger sears down are not great. You could do with the fact that they don't have a proper bent, so a proper sort of trigger notch system, which we won't go into too much, but the trigger notch system isn't the best because it's a cheap gun. The springs aren't the best, and the two don't go together. You should always either have one or the other. You need a good quality one to back up the poor quality other, and that for me is a major mechanical downfall in this gun, is that they can go off their own accord after a certain amount of use, and they do wear in that department. Double discharging, that sort of thing. The triggers are not the best triggers in the world, and I think, I say the whole trigger assembly from the front sear to the back sear isn't that great. However, I think we could probably be looking too far into this. It's a beautiful little gun for what it is, and what it is very reasonably priced. You pick them up second hand for a few £100. They take 2 3-inch Magnum 410 shells, and if you buy one in good condition or new, it will do you the service that it requires. Recoil, they don't recoil too much for what they are. I mean, these are fairly hefty 19-gram 6s, and for a 410 that's quite a lot. They do not recoil all that much. It's nice, I like it. What else are you going to find in the single trigger 410 double barrel market for that sort of money? I hear a pheasant. And with that, this video is over. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Let us know your thoughts. If you've got one, I'd love to know sort of the long-term effects, but I've never met one who's had one for long-term who was overly impressed with it for any more than it served the purpose of why I bought it. It got my child into shooting, it was an enjoyable 410 as a backup gun, and so on and so forth. If you're after a lightweight gun for a couple of years, great. Perhaps if you're after something for a bit longer, spend a little bit more, get something else. Take care, guys, we'll see you soon.